wakati ambapo hawapo kwenye biashara, tunawapata nyumbani wakituelezea stori na historia.
Na generally Kalenjin, then to be a total man you have to have a cow at least.
Ndoto yangu mimi nilikuwa napenda sana masuala ya security.
Kila siku ya Alhamisi kuendelea, nami Elizabeth Mchuku.
Looking to own a successful enterprise? The Grind offers a platform to learn.
Anyone can start a business. You can't even get a loan and start a business. Yeah. But do you have what it takes?
Have a financial plan.
Spend a lot of time on the internet. Look at all the ideas that you have. You're going to find a new solution, something new that you can do for yourself.
Start
Lazima ujitume
and grow your own business.
You be patient.
Not everyone comes the way you expect them to come, so you have to know how to face everyone.
Every Monday at 6:30 p.m.
Finding a home is not always as easy as it may seem. It is a long and tiring process, but here on The Realtor, we will break down all matters real estate to make it easier for you to find your dream home. From interior design to joint ventures, leasing of land, technology, and so much more. Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m.
When someone chokes, advise them to cough. And if this is not effective, bend them forward and give them about 5 back blows to try and clear the blockage. And if they're still choking, give them up to 5 tummy pushes by holding them around the waist and pushing inwards and upwards above their belly button. If they are still choking, call for medical assistance.
It is the 4th day of September 2023 and you're just in time for another edition of News Now. Well, we have so much lined up for you in our bulletin this afternoon. Remember, you can always interact with us on our social media handles indicated at the bottom of your screen. Now, with that said, my name is Dennis Otieno. I trust you're doing well. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, on to our top story this afternoon. Africa has the lowest investment in clean energy, at a mere 3%, despite having the lowest carbon emissions in the globe. These were the sentiments of speakers at the just begun First Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi today. Josefa Lonel Correa, the African Union Commissioner in charge of agriculture, blue economy and sustainable environment, believes the continent has the world's highest potential for renewable energy. Yet it only receives $19.5 billion in financing, a far stretch from the $50 billion goal in the next few decades. The summit will facilitate the discussion and formulation of the Nairobi Declaration, an African position on transition into renewable energy, a position to be promoted at the upcoming COP28 in December. Now let's cross over and listen in.
Africa to highlight the opportunities that exist. Because I think we haven't actually spoken much about this, and the rest of the world needs to know, and including even the youth and the resources, and we have to make the outside world know that the future is Africa, so that they can start taking us seriously.
Urgent action is required to mitigate these challenges. The summit will serve as a platform to inform, frame, and influence commitment, pledges, and outcome, ultimately leading to the development of the Nairobi Declaration.
All right, those are some of the continental leaders from Africa who are discussing matters, climate change. Of course, they're discussing matters environmental improvement. Now, let's cross over to the Kenyatta International Convention Center and get to hear more about the same with regards to matters environmental conservation.
The reality is when you develop a project like this, you cannot develop it on your own. You need meaningful and mature partnerships. We have a project in Djibouti as well, and we are competing with a number of other developers to try and find good traction in Morocco. I want to come back to the partnership component because this has been a theme for this morning. So when we look at our development, our first big partner is the government, our host government. And with our host government is to define in a meaningful way what are the objectives that the host government need in order to make sure that they capitalize on the industrialization of the new industry. The next component is the ecosystem. Green hydrogen development for us on the ground, we see it already. If we do not develop the ecosystem to support the new industry, we will cannibalize other industries, and that is not sustainable.
And what do you mean by ecosystem?
So this is the people that you employ. This is the people that you contract in for services. This is the people you contract in for goods. This is the resources that you utilize to house your own people or to house people during construction. So it's really the whole ecosystem, and it's whether it's from the tourism industry, service sector, to the consultancy industry, the whole spectrum of this. This new industry needs an ecosystem that can supply it.
Thank you.
The next component is the partnerships that we're forming with other developers. The developers are moving in and actually opening the doors for the financiers to come in, for other governments to form and learn. And that's the other thing about African Union is there are so many opportunities between governments to actually form and relationships through AGA and not reinvent the wheel. The other partnership, what's very critical to us, is the supply chain. One of the biggest concerns that we obviously have for the development or the speedy rollout of green hydrogen is constraints supply chain. And then with off-takers. Currently, a lot of discussion is taking place with off-takers to make sure that we maximize the value addition in Africa at source, because that's the best way to export that green electrons. So this is when you develop as a CWP, when you develop 60 gigawatt in a continent, 172 gigawatt across the globe, you can really only do this by forming mature and meaningful partnerships.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And when Margaret talks about AGA, so that is this Africa Green Hydrogen Alliance, led by, initiated by people like Minister Saleh from Mauritania. It has members and leadership from South Africa, from Kenya, from Egypt, Mauritania, Namibia. And tomorrow, at an AGA forum here, we'll hear more about that, and a couple of other countries, including Ethiopia, will also join to learn from Kenya and these other countries. And I've, by the way, just come from Latin America and Asia, where they're looking very much towards what you have done within AGA to see if they can create similar alliances. Nicholas, you come from a similar company, right, to CWP Global. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, maybe starting in South Africa.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here. The revolution is already happening. So in our ecosystems of hydrogen tomorrow, hydrogen would be multi-segment, multi-applications. One of them is baseload power generation, and this is ready today. I lead HDF activities in Southern and East Africa. HDF is Hydrogen of France, and we have brought to maturity a new type of power plant called the RenewStable that combines renewables and hydrogen storage to provide 24/7 grid supporting power to the grid. So there's a slide that I shared. I don't know if we can look at it. Thank you. And I give it away already, but I would want to ask you, what do you see? You see solar panels with some extra equipments. This is a visual.
All right, that is the Africa Climate Summit that just kicked off early this morning. Remember, leaders from the continent have gathered in the country to discuss matters environmental conservation as well as climate change. And the main talk is about investing in clean energy, and most of the focus has been placed on Africa into transitioning into renewable energy ahead of the COP28 that is going to be held on later in December this year. Our reporters are following closely on that story. They will be updating us further on it as it develops in our subsequent bulletins. But moving on, President William Ruto is expected to officially open this year's Mombasa International Exhibition, which will start today, Monday, and end on Sunday. Anissa Abdallah, the chairperson of the coastal branch of the Agricultural Society of Kenya, ASK, promised smallholder farmers in the coastal area who have been facing food shortage due to drought that they will be able to gain knowledge on innovations around irrigation and value addition.
Wananchi for the first time kwa ajili ya mambo ya CBC tuko na 4K Club wameweza kupanda vitu vyao pale. Yaani kuna mimea pale kwa 4K Club. Kwa hivyo tunatarajia wanafunzi watakuja wajifundishe mambo mengi. Kama sasa hii hapa mtaona kuna mambo mengi ya ukulima na teknolojia mpya na mbegu ambazo zinasaidia upande wetu wa mkoa wa Pwani.
Tuko na stand yetu pale mbele ambao tuta exhibit. Exhibition will be in line with the government agenda better. We are also proving that it's possible kuwa na paperless government and all the digitization. So you're welcome to our stand where we have projects showcasing the food security, water security in Kenya. So you're all welcome to our stand.
Meanwhile, the Methodist Church in Kenya has installed Bishop Isaiah Deye as their presiding bishop months after forcing out their leader, Bishop Joseph Ntombura, raising hopes for a denomination that has faced the threat of splitting due to bitter disagreements within its leadership. The 61-year-old reverend was elected as the 7th presiding bishop at the 58th annual conference of the church in Nairobi. The bishop has led the church in an acting capacity since April, when Bishop Joseph Ntombura was removed from office due to allegations of mishandling church funds and investments in a hospital, a resort and a national university. Speaking during the ordination ceremony held at the Methodist Resort here in Nairobi, Reverend Deye said he was keen on reuniting congregants, and after other church leaders leading Methodist churches across the country had threatened to create their own autonomous conference.
On behalf of this conference,
the task that is before us as Christians is huge and cannot be underrated. It requires the effort of all members of the society in order to succeed. As a church, we are grateful to the government for supporting various faith-based organizations in their efforts in service to humanity.
As a church, we must take seriously the job we do, especially in Sunday school, because that's where the foundation is felt. So, Bishop, don't be dissuaded by these big men to think that you are going to serve the professors, the politicians who are here. Go back to Sunday school. Make sure that Methodist Church has a very good foundation from the lower level, because that's where you grow leaders.
The Methodist Church has taken yet another significant space in leadership. Wametuonyesha ya kwamba somebody from minority community, Pokomo, can ascend to the helm of the church, the Methodist Church in Kenya, one of the biggest churches in Kenya. Bwana asifiwe sana.
Kwa hivyo Koshu, ni kusema hongera na kukutakia kila laheri. Umeweka historia kuwa Mpokomo wa kwanza kushika nafasi kubwa kama hii. Kwetu ni heshima kubwa, ni taadhima, na Mwenyezi Mungu akuongoze na kutangulie na tubariki sisi sote.
Now, from the appointments of one denomination to another denomination, where Kenya Fatwa Council, KENFAT, has held a homecoming ceremony for the newly appointed Chief Qadi of the Republic of Kenya, Abdul Halim Hussein, in Mombasa. The meeting was convened by KENFAT Chairman Mufti Saeed Ahmad, where Muslim leaders from the East African community attended. The Judicial Service Commission, JSC, appointed Abdul Halim in July following a competitive recruitment process. Qadi's Court derives its mandate from Article 170 of the Constitution. Its jurisdiction is limited to the determination of Muslim law questions relating to personal status, marriage, divorce, or inheritance in proceedings in which all the parties profess the Muslim religion and submit to the jurisdiction of the Qadi's Court.
Kila napoenda zaidi wanaomba kwamba Chief Qadi asiwe Chief Qadi wa Pwani peke yake. Wangependa awe ni Chief Qadi wa Kenya nzima. Wanapenda wamuone. Nikiwafika wanasema sisi mara ya mwisho kumuona Chief Qadi hapa ni Sheikh Abdullah Saleh Al-Farisi. Tungependa uje tena, uende na Nyandarua, sijui uende na hilo naahidi kulitekeleza kwa sababu ni wajibu wao na ni haki yao vile vile kuweza kuwa kwamba Chief Qadi ataweza kuwa karibu, mwenye kuwasikia. Inawezekana tusiweze kutatua yote yale ambayo wanaeleza, lakini tutawasikiza, tutashauriana na hawa viongozi ambao tunakutana kama hapa ili tuweze kusaidiana katika yale mambo ambayo yanatuhusu. Jambo jingine ni umoja, vile vile umetajwa hapa, na undugu. Umoja vile vile wanasisitiza kwamba wangependa, wanasema kama kuna kitu utashindwa na mambo yote, lakini uweze kutuweka sisi tuwe pamoja. Na sitakuwa mkweli ikiwa hapa sitasema hasa umoja huo wanaotaka uwe katika jambo hata hili la mwezi. Waislamu wananiambia.
Now, residents of Kamulu, Dramville, have protested a move by a private developer to develop a 1.5-acre public utility land which was set aside for a special program for the public. Area MCA Ruai Ward James Karaoke, who demanded that public utilities should be respected, he has urged the governor, that is Sakaja, to protect public utilities in Nairobi by producing title deeds for them.
Hii shida ya hapa niliitwa na wananchi, shamba yao wakasema inaibiwa, na tukaangalia kwa original plan ilikuwa inasoma special program, special purpose. So wananchi wanaomba usaidizi kutoka kwa serikali ya county. County ndio inashikilia property zote za wananchi, ndio custodian. Sasa wanaomba Sakaja wasaidie ili shamba iweze kurudi kwa wananchi. Na kitu mimi ningeomba ni kusema ya kwamba mwenye anajenga hapa kama hataki nyumba ibomolewe aache akijenga tutabomoa. Unajua ni vizuri kuelewana. Na kama hii shamba anataka abebe kwa mgongo? Abebe kwa mgongo. Kama ataweza kubeba kwa mgongo ni sawa, lakini kama inabaki hapa itabaki shamba ya wananchi.
Right, now Baringo County is one of the places which has been radically affected by the change in climate. Lake Baringo and Bogoria flooded to the extent that the residents were displaced from their homes. As the African Conference begins today in Nairobi, women from this region can now breathe a sigh of relief as they have been equipped with the knowledge to deal with adverse climate changes. It is noted that close to 150 families live here and their livelihood was disrupted, which prompted Miss Eunice Lepairo to take the initiative to educate them. They have, however, called on the government and other organizations to intervene and aid them after the loss they experienced during the floods.
The climate change is globally and it's locally. And when I say it's locally, you can see the way that it has affected a lot of women. Women are being affected by climate change, and as an organization, we are trying to train them how to adapt to the climate change. One, we are training them on alternative livelihood. That is, the chums were pastoralists. And now we are trying to make them to change to come and do some farming, though it's not permanent. As an alternative livelihood, we want to make them to get at least a livelihood which they will depend on. Now that the water rising of Lake Baringo has affected them, almost the whole half of the community is being affected, especially three locations. That is Ngambo location, Salabani location, and Elngarwa location.
Change imeleta shida mingi kwa sababu kitambo tulikuwa tunapata maji. Sasa hii mpaka hata tunaenda mpaka huko chini, na hii climate change imetusumbua. Jumali tulikuwa tunaishi tumefukuzwa na maji ya bahari. Sasa tumehama mahali tulikuwa tunaishi kitambo kwa sababu ya hii climate change. Sasa sisi tuko mbali na maji na tena mvua inyeshi. Ile maboma yetu ilikuwa huko mahali tulitoka, bado ni bahari, hatuna mahali ya kulima. Ndiposa unaona nimekuja kutafuta.
Now, just a few days after President William Ruto had a series of engagement in Western Region, having visited Kakamega County, at the same time launching some development projects, including an industrial park in Likuyani constituency. Leaders from the region have urged the government to provide employment to the locals who will participate in the project development. Likuyani MP Innocent Mugabe has reiterated the implementation of the project to the community, having the importance of job creation, which seems to boost the economy of the region, at the same time urging the government to fully involve locals in the construction process of the project.
Unajua hiyo si project kidogo, hiyo ni project ya milioni 500. Na itasaidia sana vijana wetu kupata kazi, itasaidia wakulima wetu kuweza kuzalisha na kutumia hiyo park kufanya kitu inaitwa value addition, na tutakuwa tunaona bidhaa zinatoka hapa kwetu Likuyani zikienda kuuzwa kwingine nchini na zingine zikienda ng'ambo. Kwa hivyo sio jambo kidogo, hiyo ni jambo kubwa sana, na tutakuja kutembea kufanya public sensitization ili wananchi waweze kujua ni nini iko pale na watajitayarisha namna gani ili waweze kufaidika na mradi huo. Na tumewaambia kwanza tukianza na employment yote ipatiwe vijana wetu. Tusione watu wanatoka kwingine kuja kufanya hapo kazi. Na sisi vijana wetu wamesoma. Wakitaka mainjinia, wakitaka mtu yoyote ule, watapata wapi? Watapata hapa Likuyani. Si namna hiyo? Kwa hivyo hiyo 100% employment itatoka pale.
And it's time to take to the fields and shift focus to Matters Sports, where KCB Rugby Football Club head coach Andrew Monde has said his team has now shifted its focus to the last leg of the National Sevens circuit after finishing 5th at the just concluded TSAP Sevens in Eldoret. The Bankers lost 5-10 to Menengai Oilers in the main cup quarterfinals in the opening match of the day, having missed the services of Captain Vincent Onyala, Elvis Olukosi, Festus Shiasi and Samuel Asati, who have been called to the national team for upcoming competitions. Now, despite finishing 5th, KCB maintained its second position on the tournament standings, garnering 91 points after 5 legs so far, with Kabeberi Sevens the only edition left to play in the 2023 National Sevens Circuit.
I feel the boys expressed themselves well. Unfortunately, they were not able to get to the finals. But the big thing, they got to another finals and just proven what we'd seen in them. So it's just a matter of building their confidence as we go to the last tournament to be able to see how we're able to work as a team to get to where we want to be. Now having these young guys coming in and gelling well in this tournament, so it's a matter of just doing our maths well, working very hard in every game that we're going to play in, getting into our finals and winning the trophy just to seal a good win to be able to crown ourselves the circuit winners. The caliber of players that we've missed today shows a lot.